How to address poor performers. Okay, so this is a flow chart. You're going to get this as a download. If you're in the Leadership Academy, you have this on your dashboard, and this will walk you through where to start with addressing poor performers. And it's basically a flow chart of what we just talked about. Start with, are you trained? And then you can see yes or no. And then, are you clear my expectations? Yes or no. Clear that up. And then this is how you manage performance. Not more complicated. Stay true to this, and you can manage anybody on your team to success or manage them out of the business with success. Next, how to have tough conversations. So whatever we call tough conversations, you got to fire somebody. You got to address performance of somebody. You got to deliver people bad news. You've got to be straight with somebody about a bad customer complaint. Whatever. There's many things that we could label as tough conversations, and there are tough conversations. So the first thing I would offer you is have compassion for yourself and the other person. It's not easy to have tough conversations. As much as I practice it, I don't want to have tough conversations. I don't want to I don't want to let somebody go. I don't want to deliver an ultimatum like shape up, or if this happens again, it's not going to work. It's not easy to have, but I have compassion for myself. It's not about Chad. It's about my accountability. I'm paid in my organization, whether I'm the owner, the CEO, the sales leader, manager of some kind. I'm accountable to lead this team for the performance of the business and the performance for our customers and for the other employees. So I have compassion. It's not a personal thing, but I am a serious professional at my job. So I have compassion that the human side of me would rather just probably have a beer and talk about the football game. But if I want the leadership, if I want the keys in my pocket, they say with big responsibility comes big responsibility. So if you're going to take the title, you just have compassion, and it is a business conversation. And then I have compassion for the other person. What's it like, I think to myself, for them to be on the other end of this conversation? What's it like for them? Because I don't know, but I could start to have compassion because I think and say, they may think they're really doing a good job. And now I have to have this conversation with them. And by the way, again, going back to the last conversation, if I am being accountable for they're my employee and their performance is my performance, then I'm also looking and saying, what did I miss in their training? What did I miss? Where can I own a part of this? And then work in partnership with this person to move through whatever it is we say is tough, but be straight with them. But I think about from their perspective, what's it going to be like hearing this? At least then I can speak, as we say, more from their view than just me broadcasting something. Stand in your commitment to finding a resolution. So I don't have tough conversations to be a power tripper. I don't do it because I like to hear myself talk, or I take pleasure in, again, putting people in their place. I mean, that's a very low level of leadership. If you're in that place, it's not about your title. It's not about you being dominant. It's none of that. You're not here for the right reasons as a leader, and you should deal with that first. What's the commitment? Well, the commitment is the business working, the team working, the customer working, us having a great working environment, us fulfilling our goals. So this is the secret with tough conversations. It's never personal. It's simply from what we've promised each other, from what the company's up to, from our goals, from this project. I'm committed that it works and that we're all happy and we're producing results. So let's look together, because I need to address this one area and get your input on it. See, I want to move through this, but I'm standing in a shared commitment with that team member. Make sense? It's not, well, geez, Chad, I'm here to give you bad news, and it's personal Chad to Sally. It's never personal. I'm here doing this job. You're here doing that job. We're committed to this result in the company, and I want to find a resolution together. Now that lands you in a place here that, I think I have on the next slide, but again, as a partnership, partnership works for me in all relationships, quite frankly, but I'm here as a partner, not as your boss, but we got to move through this and tell the truth. And then there you go. Obviously, some tough conversations are always required as a high performance leader. I quite enjoy them now. They're never, at first, okay, preference, maybe not, but I know tough conversations move the business forward and help people, because when you're willing to be straight, we all have mentors in our life who are straight with us, and we're better leaders because people were straight and authentic with us, right? So the people who made a big difference in my life didn't worry about being my friend when I didn't need a friend. They worried about being straight with me and standing for me moving through it so I could grow in my own profession. I'm committed to people growing, and they get that authentically from me. And then I can have any conversation to make an impact with people because I'll find the right words. And if I mess it up, I can come back and try again. But I'm not letting go of around here we can be successful together. And I'm not going to be of disservice to you and pretend like there's not something to be said, at least if I see there is. And it may be that I'm wrong, but I'm going to check it out with you because that's what good leaders do for each other. Okay. And then I said, how to motivate people. So put this up here. Motivation is a big topic. I'll just, read through this first, but what was the commitment behind them doing such an excellent job on X? So this is what you would ask yourself. This is really where motivation comes from. I would thank them for their commitment and behavior, not just for their work or the completed task, and bonuses to acknowledge them in front of their peers. So what does all this mean? First of all, we got to deal with motivation. A lot of people think motivation, okay, let's go guys, okay, let's go do it. Like that's more of a cheerleader. That can motivate people, but it's not long lasting, right? And it has its place. I don't mind being high toned and positive. I think that's fine. But when you're really looking to motivate people, you want them motivated even when you're not there cheerleading, right? The problem with cheerleading is, thank you. The problem with cheerleading is you go away and the motivation goes away. Right? So motivation is not a solution for scaling your team or having effectiveness over time without you. Therefore, some leaders get stuck with, without me there, the results don't happen. That's probably because you're a pretty good cheerleader, but people won't work on their own without you because they're waiting for the boss to, be inspirational and cheer them along. This is where I've also, posted things in social media before where people go like, what? Because I, for conversation's sake, I talk about stop expecting your leader to inspire you. Okay. Stop expecting the CEO or the founder to be inspirational. Stop doing that. Now, is it better to work for somebody who's inspirational? Probably, but don't put that pressure and expectation on your boss to need to inspire you. I'd much rather you be inspired by yourself and your own contribution. Okay, then we're in the realm of I'm responsible for motivating myself. I don't wait for my boss to do it. So there's a way to lead people into that too, where I will be clear with people. I may inspire, some days I may really piss you off or annoy you. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. We're all humans doing this, but we want a self-led organization, not one that's waiting for inspiration and direction. So how do we really motivate people in a culture? This is what I do. I think to myself when I watch people, and then when people do something, I just don't thank them, but I actually acknowledge what was the commitment behind them doing what they just did. So in a service business, I see somebody interacting with a customer in a way that's just like so great and right inside our culture and the onboarding and the training perhaps. Then I would actually acknowledge them, not, hey, thanks for, talking to the customer on the phone. That was great. That's fine. But I would think, what was the commitment behind them talking to the customer? So I'd say, Lisa, really appreciate where you must have been thinking from to ask that question to the customer. Like they had that problem, but you didn't just try and fix it. You actually listened and you said something like, I really can understand how that must be for you. And I apologize for us letting you down. Wow. Your commitment to really listening to our customers is extraordinary. Thank you for doing that. How are you listening? Or you can actually ask them, or what was it that had you say that? And that's very different than just, hey, good job talking to the customer. So the point here I'm trying to make is when you can acknowledge people for their commitment for actions that work, the commitment in the background, that reinforces that behavior with them. And in my experience, when people acknowledge me, they can say, hey, great job leading a session. Okay, thanks. But if they said something like, hey, Chad, you are so good at being able to quarterback something with 50 people on screen and really give everyone the experience of being heard and understood. Thank you for doing that. See, that's a whole different acknowledgement of me. And therefore, if I'm an employee, I'm much more motivated to keep duplicating that and expanding that. Okay, so this is very different than just a pat on the back. Some people think, oh, thanks for doing your job. No, I'm paid to do my job. It doesn't really motivate me. Your top performers want to know that you notice what they're doing behind the scenes that has them take on the commitment. Okay, second, thank them for their commitment and behavior. So not just for their work or completed task. I just spoke to that. And then bonus, acknowledge them in front of their peers. So not as a real strategy, but when you can acknowledge behavior for sure in a team environment, in a natural way, and go and say, hey guys, John in his sales territory, he took this step last week and I acknowledged him already for it, but I wanted to make it public. John, what you did there was really good. And we got to learn from how you interacted with your customers. Can you say more about that? Then he has a chance to say something. And then you're reinforcing that kind of, it's more like reinforcing their way of being in the company than just what they're doing, right? And then people really get, oh man, I'm being seen. And that's very different for a human being to be seen than to be thanked. Okay. And that gets to the heart of motivation versus just cheerleading, whole different domain. All right. So we're going to do this and then we'll start to wrap up. So how to coach during a breakdown in results. This is very important again, because of course, business, we set, especially if you're setting big goals, often we're living in a gap between how it is and how we want it to be. So there's a lot of coaching on performance when results aren't where we want them to be. That's okay. If we don't know how to coach during that gap, maybe we avoid big goals because we don't have confidence in coaching our team through it. So we just want to set goals that people can achieve because then we don't have to coach them through what's not working very well. So it's good to have confidence and expect that we're going to have breakdowns in results. Otherwise, we're probably playing a small game. So how do we deal with this? Well, first I have here, deal with lack of results with urgency. So first and foremost, we've got to, if there's some result not showing up, boom, get on it immediately. I had a call this morning with one of the groups I work with, and we had there's results not showing up in an area of the business. A couple key projects are delayed. They're stuck. And so instead of waiting to next week or hoping that it works itself out, I got with the CEO and we got the exact people who are managing the project cross-functionally together in a call for 45 minutes just to be in communication. And to tell the truth, this isn't moving. We're coming together to solve it together and be in communication. We're not waiting for next week. We're not waiting for the set meeting in 10 days. We're not waiting for somebody to get to us. We're being responsible for this area not moving. We're not pointing fingers. We're not blaming anybody. We're in partnership. Let's look what's missing here to get this thing moving. So the next thing is once you actually get in action and get the right people talking about it, not people talking about other people, get the people who are managing whatever that area is together, support them, and then find out the facts. So this is a big part of leadership and communication, is separating the facts from people's interpretation of the facts, right? And they're both valid, but we really want to know just where's the project at, what's the critical piece that we're still not resolved about, and what's happening with it. Okay. Otherwise, we'll just turn in circles and not really get to the core of what may not be working. So we need to then, once we have the facts, we need to identify, good, well, what's missing then to deliver the results? What are we not seeing? What are we not talking about? Is there anything anybody's not saying that you think might be the source of this project not moving? Are we flawed in our thinking? Is there something I overlooked? You got to continually inspect from the view that it's not just that people aren't working on it. Maybe there's a flawed strategy. Maybe we've made an assumption that we shouldn't have made. This keeps performance on track and keeps people in communication versus working on something that they know might fail, but the environment doesn't ask them to speak up. Then you're just wasting time, money, morale, and you're not going to deliver whatever that project is. And then this is all communication then. And once you've done those 3 steps, you then can lead the team to alter performance. What does leadership look like in this? Okay, good. What's the next action? When can we meet next? Who's needed in that meeting? Do you have everything you need to succeed at this point? Okay, that's all leadership. You're providing the framework for people to take the action to get the results back on track. Then, of course, you can celebrate that success or keep working it until it's a success. Okay, as always, everyone, I know I'm speaking quickly because that's what I do, because I love getting as much as I can into these master classes, but I'm going to take you now to the final tips and takeaways. Again, if you're Academy member, we'll have the checklist of this webinar as a checklist PDF download. Please go ahead and get that from the portal. And also how to address poor performers guide. You have access to that. And then I would just wrap up by saying the power of communication is in your mouth. It's not abstract, it's very concrete. The more that you can get present to what's falling out of your mouth, the more you can be responsible for what you choose to have fall out of your mouth. If the performance around you is not up to the level you want it to, your access is to change your conversation about it. It may require first your mindset and then actually what you start to say to your team. But if it ain't working, remember the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So if it ain't working, stop, be introspective, and see how you can change your communication as a leader. And then finally, there, be thoughtful on what you say and notice the impact on others. Notice your words, slow down a bit, pause a bit more, give more room in communication versus just talking. See, right now I can slow my thinking, I can slow my language down, I can bring an awareness to what I'm saying right now, but it does take that moment-to-moment presence. And sometimes you'll be an automatic, and sometimes if you catch yourself on automatic, you can say, am I actually present to what I'm saying? And then in that moment of asking that, you probably will be. And then finally, leadership is all a conversation. Fundamentally, leadership is just what I listen for, what I hear, and what I say in response, and what I'm willing to stand for and create. And it starts with, as we always say, a big vision, and then the right context for building a team, not needing to have all the answers, and then steering the conversation over time until you produce results that are satisfactory or even miraculous. All right, with all that said, thank you as always for your time and attention. I do have up here a QR code. If you're watching this and you're like this content, I do have a video series. All you have to do is put your phone up there and just sign up for a weekly video lesson, which I record and send out to you, all around founders, sales leaders, leading your team for high performance. Happy to have you on that list for those videos. And with everything said and done, we'll see you next time in a future masterclass. Take care.